And there's fighting in AlJazeera outside the capital, Tripoli. State TV has shown pictures of the military in what they say is the recaptured town. But the rebels deny that, saying they're still in the city. Reports suggest that government forces have them surrounded. Lawrence Lee has the latest on the offer that has apparently been made by a Gaddafi envoy to the National Council.
For a man with such a strong line in bombast and exaggeration, the suggestion of Gaddafi making a deal on the quiet which would allow him to escape Libya unscathed is startling. It's claimed he raised the suggestion on Sunday when opposition forces were on the road to Sirte, his hometown, and before the Libyan army had retaken the town of Bin Jawad and pushed the rebels back. According to AlJazeera sources in Libya, Gaddafi's main demands were aimed far less at ensuring the future of his country and far more at making sure that he and his family could continue living in luxury. So it's alleged that Gaddafi wanted assurances that he wouldn't be prosecuted for crimes against humanity, that he and his family would be able to leave to a country of his choosing, and that he would retain assets, many of which have been seized in countries from Europe to Japan.
Hopefully the dictator is cracking. We hear news that he has approached our leaders at the National Council, and maybe cracks are appearing.
What's striking about this is that he seems far more concerned about threats from the outside world than from inside Libya, perhaps too the growing pressure from the international community, which is talking about a military response more urgently now that the rebels are on the back foot.
And we've got NATO, as we speak, consulting in Brussels around a wide range of potential options, including potential military options, in response to the violence that continues to take place inside of Libya.
No doubt the people of Benghazi, as well as the authorities there, see this offer as outrageous, but it wouldn't be surprising if they came under great external pressure to accept it, or something like it, as the best way to begin resolving this crisis. Libyan state TV inevitably has denied an offer even being made, and probably this is the start of the process. Nevertheless, with Libya threatening to tear itself apart, removing Gaddafi remains the key to getting east and west of the country to talk to each other. Lawrence Lee, AlJazeera.
Well, on the line now from Benghazi is Hoda Abdelhamid, our correspondent. Hoda, what are your sources at the National Council there in Benghazi saying about this offer?
Well, they're saying that it is a that would actually find an honorable exit for Gaddafi and his family, and they're saying that that is something that they just can't accept. They do say that he wants guarantees that he won't be prosecuted, and they say that's something, anyway, the National Council can certainly not guarantee, if I may say so, because they cannot interfere with the investigation already started by the International Criminal Court. They say that part of this offer was also, there was a demand for Gaddafi to be able to access some of its wealth. They say all in all it is a very difficult offer to accept. They say that at the moment what they can accept is for him to firstly step down, and then they may consider some of the demands.
But of course there's increasing pressure on the National Council. We've seen Gaddafi forces continuing the fight back. They're apparently surrounding AlJazeera and they're bombarding the town of Ras Lanuf.
Yes, and I think that's also the realization here, that at a certain point the rebels might have gotten lucky and might have been able to advance with impunity, if we may describe it like that, for a few days. But as you get closer to Sirte, things are becoming much, much more difficult. And there is a realization on this side in the east that they need a better organization if they were to continue with a military offensive, if they were to continue to try to go all the way to Tripoli. And there's also a realization that they need to organize themselves to sort of bring back some sort of civilian rule to this part of the country. It's been completely at a standstill since this uprising started. Shops are closed, schools are closed, banks open once in a while. So there is a realization that chaos could settle in very, very quickly, and that time is running out. So they also need to organize themselves very quickly.
OK, Hoda, thanks very much indeed for that. Hoda Abdelhamid in Benghazi there. Let's cross to AlJazeera and our correspondent Jackie Rowland. Jackie, if people there got wind of this proposed deal, and are they likely to approve a deal where Gaddafi gets money and immunity?
Well, people here, the young volunteers who are joining the rebel force, for them the motivation is very personal. You hear a lot of chants that are specifically against Muammar Gaddafi. And when we talk to some of the young men who volunteered to come up to the front lines and participate in this battle against the Gaddafi forces, the repeated complaint that we hear is that Gaddafi has absconded with, has embezzled Libya's wealth. People say time and again that Libya is a rich country. It has a great deal of oil and gas resources, and people want to know why, if it's such a rich country, ordinary people are so poor and that there is such a shortage of work. So there's a real feeling amongst the people who are volunteering to take part in this rebellion that they want some kind of justice, social justice, economic justice. So the idea that Muammar Gaddafi might be able to escape and run off with a considerable amount of Libya's wealth in his back pocket would not go down well with the rebel fighters that we've been speaking to.
Now, of course, you're in the east there. Are you getting much information about what's happening in Bin Jawad and in Ras Lanuf? We've heard both those towns are under attack.
Yes, I mean, Bin Jawad is really the front line now, and the rebels have made a couple of attempts in a couple of days to actually capture the town, but they've been coming up against very fierce resistance from Gaddafi troops. They say that the Gaddafi troops have been using heavy weapons against them. They've also said that there have been snipers on rooftops, including in one instance actually fire from the minaret of a mosque against the rebel forces as they tried to advance into the town. Now, they've pulled back from Bin Jawad at the moment, and they're actually having to defend themselves in Ras Lanuf. Ras Lanuf has been in rebel hands for quite some time now. There have been skirmishes around the town, but at the moment it does appear that the Gaddafi forces are trying to actually advance from Bin Jawad and retake Ras Lanuf as well. I think what we're seeing here is the Gaddafi forces attempting to prevent any effort by the rebels from pushing too far west. We do get the impression that the Gaddafi troops do have weapons in their arsenal that they haven't chosen to use yet for whatever reason. But when we bear in mind that Bin Jawad is just 180 kilometers from Sirte, Gaddafi's hometown, it's clear that the Gaddafi forces are feeling that this is close enough and they don't want the rebels to be able to advance any closer, which I think is why we're seeing such a fierce fight around Bin Jawad.
And also on the international level, a lot of discussions about diplomatically what the next step should be, whether there should be a no-fly zone. The foreign ministers of the Gulf states have said that they want to see a no-fly zone. Is there a feeling amongst the people you're speaking to that if action isn't taken soon, they could lose the momentum and, you know, that this whole thing could come grinding to a halt?
To a certain extent already, they've lost momentum. The momentum is certainly slowing when you bear in mind that for the last 10 days or so, the opposing forces are scrapping over the same bit of desert, 50 kilometers here, 50 kilometers there. There has not been a significant advance west by the rebels in the last 10 days. The question of a no-fly zone is something that's been talked about a lot. Rebel commanders, senior